William Hill, the home of betting.
Well, I'm joined by John, Ivan, Duke and Graham Rodway. We're having a look at the alternative bets, shall we say, for the Cheltenham Festival. And John, come to you first, the trader market. I mean, how's that one shaping up with your firm?
Willie Mullins is unsurprisingly the 2 to 5 favourite for it, and you can certainly see with the firepower that he's got, particularly with those Richie-owned horses. He's got a wonderful hand for this festival. It's no surprise that he's odds on at 2 to 5. If you fancy Paul Nicholls, he's a 9 to 2 shot. He's the outsider of the three that we've got betting on, and Nicky Henderson's in the middle of the pair of them at 4 to 1. I think it's going to be interesting to see the British trainers try and take on the Irish, but Willie Mullins is the one to beat.
Interesting, yeah, 9 to 2, William Hill, maybe a spot of value there about Paul Nicholls. Graham, I mean, yourself, is there anything here you're rushing to get stuck into?
Well, not particularly. I mean, you can see why Willie Mullins is so short, can't you? I mean, we were saying in the office the other day that he's probably got the strongest ever hand that any Irish trainer has brought to Cheltenham.
Ridiculous, isn't it? The amount of good horses.
It's incredible. I'm always a big fan of Henderson in these markets. However, for the simple reason, and you'll note it certainly from last year and the year before that, both Cheltenham and Aintree, when his horses start firing, he's capable of just reeling off a huge sequence of winners. There was a day at Aintree, I think last year, where he had 4 or 5, and there's always the possibility that when Henderson start firing, that they can go on a huge run. So if you compare his price probably to last year to this year, he's a much bigger price this year than he would have been last.
Would you not be slightly worried about Nicky Henderson and the fact that the yard has been under a bit of water, and you've seen with the likes of Sprinter Sacre, they've not necessarily been firing yet.
It's disappointing. Obviously, Sprinter Sacre is not going to make it, and you're right, and that he's not quite been in the same scintillating form that he was in the last 2 years. But I felt last season, coming into last season's big festivals in April, that he wasn't quite, firing on all cylinders. And then certainly at Aintree, he absolutely mopped up, and he had a good festival as well. So the way that Henderson trains, he never has his horses wound up until those big meetings in April, and everything is geared towards those big ones in April. And I just can't believe that he won't beat Paul Nicholls, to say the least. Whether he'll beat Mullins, that's another question.
Okay, so 4 to 1 with Nicky Henderson, William Hill there, and John, looking at the more in-depth trader markets, if you like, I believe you've done a few match bets here. Yeah,
the match bet between Nicholls and Henderson is, as Graham was just saying, Nicholls is the evens favourite for it. Nicky Henderson at 11 to 8 and the tie at 4 to 1. So if you did want to just back Nicky Henderson in a straight match with Paul Nicholls, 11 to 8, and I think there'll be a few people maybe trying to get their money on that.
And the jockey markets, I presume. Well, how are we going with this? What, Ruby Walsh must be 1 to 25?
Not quite, 4 to 7, and I think that's top price actually with William Hill, 4 to 7 for Ruby Walsh. Barry Geraghty's at 3 to 1, and it's 8 to 1 bar the rest. Tony McCoy leading the charge for the other sort of rivals, but I think Ruby Walsh is the one that they've all got to beat in the jockey's title.
Hard to spot some value in the jockey market when you argue, Graham?
Yeah, it is. I mean, the days of, I remember a few years back in Graham Lee to win it at 20 to 1, and he had 3 winners, and I think he won it on seconds or something insane. But I think the days of getting like a big price about a jockey like Graham Lee was at the time are probably gone, because Mullins and the big stables, Henderson, Nicholls, they're all so dominant, and they've obviously got their own jockeys that ride all the horses. So it's hard to look past Ruby, isn't it? Especially with the outside rides he might get as well.
Okay, well, one of the reasons why some of my Ante-Post books go totally up in smoke is the ground. Will it be fast? Will it be soft? Will it be something in between? Well, how are we pricing this one? I mean, the traditional good to soft, what are we going with William Hill?
Well, I was just going to say, I wouldn't fancy fast ground particularly.
What are you going, 200 to 1?
Yeah, 200 to 1, spot on. Good to firm or firm, 200 to 1.
You never know, sprinklers could break, but yeah, carry on.
Good to soft, 8 to 11.
Yeah.
The favourite for it at the moment, and I think it probably will be starting good to soft. That would be the one I would fancy. But if you did fancy soft ground, I mean, you've only got to look out of your window and see the rain about, and I mean, there's still people in Somerset who are completely underwater at the moment, and that's not that far away. 9 to 4 for soft ground, 7 to 1 for heavy ground, good ground. Sun might come out, might dry up a little bit. That's 6 to 1.
Interesting. But did 6 to 1 appeal to you at all, Graham? I'm sure they'll water it sufficiently to maintain the good to soft for day one.
You would have thought so, wouldn't you? But it wouldn't entirely surprise me, because Cheltenham does really dry out quite well, and I've been to a couple of their fixtures this year, and certainly the one on New Year's Day when it poured down all day and the weather was atrocious. It was really strange because the good ground horses were winning, and the same in January when it was heavy ground. You had the Giant Bolster and Wishful Thinking, our horses that you would never have thought would handle heavy ground. They were all winning, you know, all horses that go on good ground. So even when it gets really desperate at Cheltenham, my feeling is that it's not quite as desperate as at some other places. So it wouldn't entirely surprise me if we had a dry period that it was able to dry out. But they like good to soft on that first day, don't they? That's their ideal conditions, and I'm sure that the clerk of the course will be trying to produce that.
Now we'll be weighing in with Hills then on the good to soft. John, very quickly, if you could give me like the biggest 3 losers for your week, which ones are going to be giving you migraines? Well, Bobsworth, I know.
Bobsworth is the obvious one. That'll be a bad result for any bookmaker. Bobsworth is definitely by far and away the worst result for us at the festival at this stage, and it will be even. You know, if we saw a lot of money for anything else, they wouldn't catch up Bobsworth for the worst result. Of the others, we've got Ted Veal as well. Dreadful result for us. Best backed horse in any of the handicap races. Vukovar in the JLT has been very, very popular. It might not be an obvious one that springs out, but one of the outsiders perhaps which could catch the attention. Vukovar in the JLT.
What price are you about him at the moment?
Oh, that's a great question. Vukovar's
about 10, 12 to 1 mark.
Yeah, around that mark. Yeah. That's what the Springer there in the market. Yeah, I think we're actually a lot shorter than that. I think we're 7 to 1 at the moment.
7's our substantial money for him.
Just because we've had so much money for the horse, it's been very, very well backed, and I think we are a lot shorter at the moment than some of the other firms. But 7 to 1 for Vukovar, and in the Champion Hurdle, Hurricane Fly and Arcona would be the 2 worst results. Interesting, given that you would have thought that the new one might be more popular, but not with us. Champagne Fever in the Arkle as well, another one to note.
Right, fantastic. Well, I'm going home to swat up on who's going to be top owner and probably come up with no nearer to the answer. But thanks for your input then, gentlemen. Thanks for watching at home, and see you all again soon.
William Hill, the home of betting.